God.
I don't think!
No one wanted Sogden not to go through more than me.
Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as we discuss what is absolutely a crisis at Manchester United as we're heading to Christmas and ask the question, in 2024, will it be more of the same or are things going to get better? Because as I've said to you before, I don't think we're necessarily at the bottom of the barrel. It surprises me the naivety of some people in the media and in our fan base who think one change of a manager is going to work when we've tried that for 10 years. Lots to discuss this morning, the lazy analysis, but also we've got a poll going, Ten Hag stay, Ten Hag go. It's around 50-50 at the moment, and I'm going to say straight away, I'm not convinced Erik Ten Hag is the right man for Manchester United anymore, but that doesn't mean I'd sack him. To which people will go, doesn't make any sense. I'll make it make sense. We'll have a debate about why it makes sense, and I also want to say, I completely and utterly agree with people who are angry, frustrated, and demanding action this morning and yesterday. This is not about Ten Hag in blindly against people who are moaning. I agree with the moaning, but I just think the problem is multi-layered and sacking the manager, for me, is bad business and bad for Manchester United in the short to medium term. We've done this before and it sent us backwards. I firmly believe Solskjaer set this club back 3 years by putting him in as an interim and us all having a sing-song for a few months. I think it was catastrophic. And I think if you're going to remove the manager, you've got to do something a little bit different. Ralph Rangnick tried to do something different and Man United didn't back him to do it. He spoke about open heart surgery. He dropped the problem players. And yet the club decided to throw Rangnick under the bus. And many people talk about the removal of Rangnick as where this whole Ten Hag era started to go wrong. Because we empowered players again. People wrongly think that Jose Mourinho was the only one who got turned on by the players. It was player power that did for Mourinho and the club are at fault. It was player power that did for Ollie and the club are at fault. And biggest of all, you've got Ralph Rangnick, who was meant to be coming in as director of football, telling the world what the problems are, and United again decided to throw him under the bus and stick with the players. And that is why we are where we are. Player power and incompetence in the board is destroying this football club, and there is no quick fix anymore at Manchester United. Have you ever considered that if the Glazers were in charge of Arsenal when Arteta came in, Arteta would still have the likes of Lacazette, Aubameyang and Ozil playing in his team 3 years later? That is the enormity of the problem at Manchester United, and that is the fact. I'll talk about Ten Hag and I'll talk about why I'm not convinced he's the right man. But I'll also tell you why I wouldn't be sacking him today, tomorrow or any time in the next 2 weeks. Because look at what's happened at Liverpool, the revolution under Klopp. Look at what's happened at Arteta and the revolution there. And tell me why Jose Mourinho said last week, I walked into that club and in the first 2 months, I told them to get rid of some players that are still playing in the team now. Now, many people have done some quick maths and figured out it's Martial, Rashford, McTominay and Luke Shaw. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But my point is, if Arteta had the Glazers as owning Arsenal, Aubameyang, Ozil and Lacazette and a few others would still be there. And you look at what's happened by removing those players and look at where they are, it ain't rocket science. You can remove as many managers as you like. But if you don't let the manager sign the players they want, but more importantly, remove the toxic players, you will be where Man United are. We are a lesson in how not to run a football club. We are a lesson in how to fail. And it's always about money. But Liverpool did the same with Klopp. They removed a load of players and look at where they are now. We still have players that managers, multiple managers, have asked to get rid of. But the principle for me is, Slow Sports News says, I will back Ten Hag, but he needs to do himself a favour first and not hang himself out to dry. There is absolutely no doubt that Erik Ten Hag is sacking himself. There is absolutely no doubt that he is culpable for yesterday and a lot of the results this season. No doubt in my mind. I am still royally pissed off with the fact that he picks a midfield like that in the Premier League. And it makes me question whether he's the right man for the job. And this is where we dive into the nuts of this, because ultimately you can sit there and go, how can you say, Goldbridge, that you wouldn't sack the manager, but you're just assassinating his tactics live on air for the second day in a row? Well, it's very, very simple. It's very, very simple. If I'm taking over Man United, like Sir Jim Radcliffe, Sir David Brailsford, Blanc as the CEO, Paul Mitchell as the director of football, I absolutely are screaming and shouting, you do not dare sack Ten Hag before we're in place. No way. If I'm taking over a restaurant that's got loads of potential, but it's getting loads of bad reviews, I'm not going to I don't want them to sack the chef or the hotel manager, the restaurant manager, until I've sacked them. I come in and do the business, not them. And there's some big reasons behind that. But mainly, I want to come in, and I'm probably going to sack Ten Hag in the summer. But what I want to do between January and May is spend time with Ten Hag finding out why we're serving up shit food. Who else are the problems in this club? Because when a restaurant is failing and when a football club is failing, it's very rarely one person's fault. Now, if you sack Ten Hag and then you come into the job like Sir Jim, all you're going to get is the players going, it was Ten Hag. It was all Ten Hag, wasn't it? Fitness department, it was Ten Hag, yeah. John Murtagh, yeah, it was Ten Hag. Everyone protects themselves. However, if I take over the club and I speak to the players, Ten Hag, John Murtagh and the fitness department, I get a rounded story from everybody. And that is what we need to do. For the first time in 10 years, let's not throw the manager out. Let's accept the season is over and let's digest and analyse the problems. That's what good business people do. That's what good football clubs do. We haven't even got the people in place who are going to take over the footballing side, and people want us to sack the manager. It's lazy, naive and stupid because we've done it before. We've done it before. We've got new ownership coming in on the footballing side. They've got to speak to Ten Hag. They've got to analyse the problems of the last 18 months. They have to do that. Because if they don't, the only side of this story they get is people who stay, who are out for themselves. And we know this. There are people still at that football club, coaching, fitness department, players who've been here since Mourinho. And they will protect themselves. Rangnick's fault. Yeah. Ollie's fault. Yeah, Jose's fault. Yeah, Van Gaal's fault. Yeah, Ten Hag's fault. We've got to realise as a fan base that sacking managers is petulant and wrong. It's a quick fix that never works. You've got to realise this is not going to change against Aston Villa. It's not going to change in January. It's not going to change in March. It's not going to change this season. The season is over. We might do something in the FA Cup. We might get sixth, but we're not getting top four. We're out of Europe. We're going to have a shit season. So my opinion is, as a grown-up and as somebody who wants Manchester United to do well, let's please not do what we've done 4 or 5 times in the last 10 years and sack the manager and go back to where we were and run the cycle through again. Let's take a step back. Let's say to the world, we are shit. Let's accept it as a fan base. We are shit. And let's look at why we're shit. Let's take a step back and go, we're not going to make any rash decisions. The season's over anyway. We're not getting top 4. So let's look at this situation. Let's analyse how a team's gone from 3rd and 2 cup finals to where we are now. Let's speak to Ten Hag. Let's find out why it's gone wrong. And then in May, let's make a decision.